Hi, my name is Helen Teasid, and welcome to U.S. Ghost Tours. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to give you some rules, and that is, please don't smoke on the tour, please don't drink on the tour, and do not take any videos. You can photograph as much as you want. And if you have any questions, I'm your guide. Please feel free to ask me. And so let's get started. This is the Menger Hotel. The construction started in 1859 by a man named William Menger. He was an Irish immigrant. He was also a brewer, and he brewed some of the best beer west of the Mississippi. His idea was to put much lavish and exquisite things in this hotel. And as doing so, he had many great visitors, including Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant. But right after this place opened, just like the rest of San Antonio and the rest of the United States, the Great Depression came along. When the Great Depression came, business went way low down. But this hotel survived, and by the 1940s, it was back online with more visitors than you can imagine. At that time, they started serving snapper, wild game, mango ice cream, and they would even go down to the river and catch you turtles and serve you that. It was a shell of a deal. But then, with this beautiful, lavish lifestyle came the creepier side. You see, all the years that this hotel was open, there wasn't much hospitals around. So a lot of people that were sick, or a lot of people that were pregnant, came to this hotel to be taken care of. And that meant a lot of people have died here. In fact, throughout the years, there are like about 32 stories that are accounts of ghosts being seen here. And three of the most famous ones, Teddy Roosevelt used to ride into this hotel and go to the bar, and he'd try to round up all the Rough Riders. And many bartenders and barbacks and people that worked in that area saw him standing at the end of the bar, just staring at him. Sometimes it seemed like he wanted to talk to them, but then when they turned to look again, he'd be gone. And there was this one young kid who started working here at night by himself, and he had to close. And he turns around and he sees him standing there staring at him. And it scared him so badly, he ran to the door and he's banging on it because they had locked him in. And all the staff that was working the rest of the hotel rushed down to open the doors. He's like, there's a man in there, and when they all went in, he was gone. The bespectacled man with the big mustache was no longer there. Another famous ghost that's here is a chambermaid named Sally White. She was very well known in this hotel. Everybody loved Sally. Sally lived right down the street, and she was married to this vile man named Henry Wheeler, who beat her and yelled at her constantly. And one day after work, she walked home, and he was in a foul mood, and he started yelling and screaming at her. And he says, I'm gonna kill you, and he grabbed a gun. So Sally ran back for safety to the hotel, and as she's running right here in the street, pow, pow, pow! He shot her 3 times, and she fell to the ground. All the people from the hotel ran out, and they scooped her up and they took her inside. That Henry Wheeler took off. He was never brought to justice or ever found. But Sally laid inside for 2 days suffering until she died. The hotel paid for her coffin. In fact, if you go inside in the glass case, there's a receipt that says Sally White coffin. And they kept that receipt in there because they loved her so much. Now, Sally White's been seen going from room to room. Some people have seen her making the bed as they're laying in it. Some people have seen her as they come out of the shower. One lady saw her and she was bringing in towels. She started to scream, and she ran down to the lobby to tell everybody, there's a lady, I could see right through her, And when everybody ran upstairs to go see, nobody was there. The lady in the white apron was gone. And then the third most famous person that came here was a man named Richard King. Richard King was the cattle baron king of the great state of Texas. He was actually an indentured servant, an Irish indentured servant. His family actually sold him to make money, and he hated that life, and so he ran away, and he became an entrepreneur, and he became that famous cattle baron. That ranch that he owns out by Corpus Christi, still there after 160 years. Well, Mr. King, he loved this hotel. In fact, he loved it so much he came up here all the time. And so what the hotel did was gave him his own room, and they called it the King Suite. He had a 4-poster bed with a canopy over the top, a big armchair in the room. But then one year, Mr. King came here because he was very sick. He had cancer. And he ended up dying in this very bed. And they held the funeral service right here in the front parlor. And people came from far and wide to see because he was so famously known. Now, if you come to this hotel to this day, you can still stay in the King Suite. In fact, they kept the 4-poster bed and his chair. And people that have slept in his bed have actually reported hearing footsteps at night or waking up and seeing a man leaning over, staring at them. So if you have the guts enough to come and stay at this beautiful hotel, try staying at the King Suite. You might not be the only guest.